All right, welcome to another episode of the Political Playbook. I'm Wyatt, and this is my co-host Darren. And today we have big news for the audience. The government has officially shut down. Right now, if you go to whitehouse.gov/government shutdown clock, it'll have a counter of just how long the United States government has been shut down, as well as a message at the top that specifically says Democrats have shut down the government, followed by a set of times. So for right now, at least for us, it's almost 2 days. So this is expected to continue on for another week, and then we will see where we go from there. So, Darren, I'll kick it over to you. What do you make of the cause of this shutdown?
Well, to me, it seemed like they were just kind of scrambling for any reason to shut it down. I think their base, the Democratic base, is upset with the leadership. There's kind of the feeling among at least the talking heads that the leadership is not doing enough to combat Trump. So the leadership has kind of picked the best poll tested issues and has decided to make a battle out of them. Basically, it's all, just so our viewers know, it's all about health care. Some Obama care subsidies are going to expire soon if they're not renewed. And if they're not renewed, then, well, if you're on Obamacare, then you're going to have to end up paying quite a bit more on your premium. It depends on your income bracket, so not everybody's going to pay the same amount. If you're like poor, it's not going to hurt too bad, but if you're like middle to higher income, it actually might be a really big increase.
And the
So
older you are, correct?
I'd have to look at the tables, but I think you might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that people over 60, like wealthy people over 65 could end up paying an extra $1,000 a month on top of what they're currently paying. So
Oh yeah.
that's the part about the tables people are misunderstanding, I think, is that like in those tables they're talking about a marginal increase. So like it's an extra $130 a month, not just $130 total. It's an extra, you know. So
Oh yeah. And if you're paying $1,000 a month, depending on how many people that covers, if that's just a single individual, that really is not. I mean, everybody weigh their own, pros and cons, but to me, I don't think I'd even pay for it if it was $1,000 a month. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I mean, an ER visit is these days is $1,000, $2,000. So I'd just take my luck without insurance at that point. But anyways, another one of the issues is that the Democrats take issue with some of the features of the big beautiful bill. Basically, like these rural hospitals are gonna not receive as much funding. They might shut down. Uh, Medicare, there were, of course, cuts, and nobody's happy about that. I've got to say, of all the issues the Democrats chose, I think this was a smart one because, from an Oklahoman's perspective, these rural hospitals getting shut down is a pretty big no-no. Like if you suffer some really serious medical or catastrophe, or have some big industry injury, then the difference between making an hour drive to the nearest metro area and doing a 15-minute drive to the nearest rural hospital, I mean, that's a really big difference. So I think the Democrats were actually wise to do this. But what are your impressions of this? Do you think this is wise of them, to have done this, or do you think it's a little foolish? What's the calculus in your mind?
Well, and so you can use a government shutdown for a couple of different things, right? So I think the biggest thing that the Democrats are using this for, it's the only leverage point they're really going to have for till the midterms, right? Or until they have to do this negotiation again, right? So this is the only negotiate or leverage they're going to have. Why would they not use it, right? And I totally understand that. So but I think that the reason that is the most important is that they kind of get a glance to like poll test into 2026. So, like, for example, you said that they chose healthcare. They're going to be able to decide what their 2026 platform is going to be. Is it going to be and it's looking like it's going to be healthcare, right? Just based off of this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a trial run for that. So, you get to, if this flops and you end up having to cave it to end the shutdown, it's really no harm, no foul from a political standpoint, right? Obviously, everyday Americans may end up worse off for a little bit, but from a political power standpoint, you're not gonna no harm, no foul, right? Um, I don't know. I would like to see them weaponize other stuff. Like I don't typically think you should shut down the government for policy based things because if you want to shut down the government for policy based things, I would just say what Sauger said on Breaking Points, and I'd say win an election. Like then we'll talk. You know what I mean? Like if you win
Oh
an
yeah.
election, then I'll give you the right to. But with that said, I think that there are a bunch of things that the Democrats could raise, and they have no interest in raising any of those points. And I'm just a little baffled at that, to be honest with you.
What would you like them to raise other than healthcare? To me, healthcare is probably their. And this is my perspective. I think healthcare was incredibly wise. I'm glad they're focusing on that and nothing kind of, it's tried at this point, but nothing like overly woke. I'm glad they're not talking about trans healthcare or any like anti-immigration stuff.
Yeah,
I
listen,
think they're
look,
wise.
and you tell me if you agree with any of these, okay? But if I were a Democrat, I would demand three things of Donald Trump and the Senate and House Republicans. I would be like, okay, number one, no more National Guard roaming the streets of America. All right, cut the authoritarian shit. We don't want this spectacle that they're doing to be normalized. Like, not knock it the fuck off. Okay, just knock it off. All right. Number two, the Trump family. You got to quit profiting off of the fact that you're president. All right. No more foreign gifts. No more Saudi deals with Jared and Ivanka. Trump Jr. can't do the meme coins anymore. Like, not stop it. The corruption is out of fuck control, right? And then the last thing is like just attempt to unite the country, right? So like no more of this like the radical left, the demon Democrats, all of that. For example, like when an act of political violence occurs, as is becoming more prevalent, I'm sure you saw that a synagogue was shut up today in the UK, which I understand is not in America. But when a political violence occurs, how about we just condemn the violence without blaming one side or the other for political advantage? How about that? That's it. Those are the three things that we should ask, okay? And it's not gonna happen.
Uh, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the last one especially, that's more like a tone shift. It's not really much of a. I mean, yeah, it would probably be good if you could get Trump to agree to that, and also if he would stop acting like a mobster and just seek out personal gain through his business dealings as president. But those aren't really like, I would honestly argue that none of those really would provide that many tangible benefits to Americans. Maybe the first one, the National Guard. Like if you live in a big city, you see the National Guard out in the streets one day, and then after the you know shutdown battle, you no longer see them. So maybe that would give the uh, perception that would lend to the perception that the Democrats are fighting more so, because that's more visible. But the other two, I think I think even the opposition to Trump has pretty much just accepted that as being par for the course with Trump, and
Yeah, but
I'm honestly
I'm searching for a return to norms here. That's what I want. So maybe that's where mine came from, but I could see why you would see it differently.
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, I would like uh I would like a return to norms, especially in the fact that Trump is using the presidency to enrich himself. It's just, I mean, how could you even get him to agree to that? Through a shutdown. I feel like something more concrete. With like actual like legislation would probably be best.
Yeah, but I would say that what I argued for is way closer to happening than what you're arguing for. I mean, you're telling me that Trump, Mr. Brinksmanship himself, is going to what concede chunks of the big beautiful bill that he just fought like hell to pass to the Democrats over what, 6 votes? I think he'd rather take the government. I think he'd rather take the government for a month before he does that. And he's proven able to do it before. Like 20, what was it, 2018, 2019? The longest shutdown in U.S. history, and it's all because he was like, "F you, I don't want to negotiate."
Yeah, I mean, he shut the government down for over a month, so
Right.
yeah, he's certainly willing to do it. Um, I mean, and on some level, like, I don't think there's like, I think he can hold out this time for maybe even longer. I mean,
He's got more
you know,
mojo with the American people for sure.
yeah, he's definitely more favored this time around from what I can tell, and uh, also, I mean, all these employees are gonna they're gonna get back pay. The ones who are like
Right.
furloughed and stuff. So it's not like you're not gonna make anyone destitute by doing this. I think he can withstand the pressure. I think it's well, I don't know. Who do you think is going to cave first, the Democrats or
Chuck
Trump?
Schumer.
The Demo-
Chuck Schumer. Yeah, 100% the Democrats. If I was a betting man, which I'm not because my God forbids it, but if I was, I would take everything I had in cash and I would put it on Chuck Schumer is going to blink first, 100%.
I think there's probably a pretty good case to be made. I didn't delve into it too much, but I heard in passing that Chuck Schumer really was not that excited to go and do this. Probably for a variety of reasons. Maybe it might seem hypocritical or whatever, or maybe he just doesn't have that fight in him. But yeah, it doesn't seem like he was all that into it from the get go.
I mean, my understanding of from Chuck Schumer is the only reason he did this is because he thought that he had no other way. And to be honest with you, he's probably a little scared that AOC is going to challenge his seat. Maybe fear made him do this. I don't think his heart is in it. So
Um,
if you were a Democrat, would you support the shutdown or would you not support the shutdown, and why or why not?
I would support the shutdown, and I'll do you one better. Even if I was an elected Republican, and if I was
We'll get to
more
that in a
free,
second, I'm sure.
but I would support it 100%, and because I mean ultimately they're at least ostensibly they're fighting the worst parts of the big beautiful bill in my estimation, and they're I mean the Obamacare subsidies are really I don't use the Affordable Care Act. I get insurance through my employer, so it doesn't affect me at all. It doesn't affect my wife at all. But um, for I to be empathetic, I guess, or
Yeah, about 20
uh,
million Americans use it, right?
yeah, I mean that's a lot of people that would seriously screw over if the subsidies aren't renewed. So in that respect, I totally support what they're doing. I mean, the subsidies are expensive, but again, if we want to make cuts, I think there are different areas where you could cut. I think there's more people you could tax. So yeah, I'm just kind of against the whole philosophy of cutting the healthcare to to make these like marginal, gains in revenues. It just seems a little silly.
I'll be honest with you. I have gone back and forth on whether I do or do not agree with shutting down the government. I think the biggest thing for me is that A, I feel like it's win-win for the Republicans, right? Which we'll get into that in just a second. But also, like, what's really the win for the Democrats, right? Like, they're gonna ultimately, I feel like this will accomplish nothing, and it will cost the economy a couple of $1 billion. And maybe, like I said, I don't see much of a win coming out of here other than like they're going to get some pretty interesting poll data for 2026. So, I don't know. The base wants it though. I'll tell you that right now. So if it's all about like engaging your political base, in that sense, I can at least understand it. But I'm pretty agnostic on whether this is good or bad. I mean, I heard Ezra Klein talk about how we have to do this because there's masked men on the streets and there's National Guard fixing to roam around in Portland, Oregon, or you know Seattle, or wherever, right? Um, I don't know if I subscribe to that idea because I think just because you have a disagreement on policy, that doesn't give you the right to hold the American economy and the American government hostage, right? So I'm I'm a little agnostic. I got to be completely honest with you, but uh, I think we've covered it from the Democratic side. From the Republican side, I mean, I don't know about you, but I see this as a complete win-win for them. Would you agree with that, or you're like, no, 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 this is all bad?
It's certain the situation most certainly favors the Republicans because, in my estimation, I do believe the Democrats will cave first, and if so, that will just further demoralize their base, and their base is already like really mad, really demoralized. So, in that respect, I think it is good for the Republicans. I don't see them making any major concessions if there are any concessions at all. I think you're probably right. Because also, I mean, this one is unambiguously caused by the Democrats. It's certainly, in the past, shutdowns were easy to pin on the Republicans because it was the Republicans' fault. But I mean, this time around, I don't know how well this will do with independence or anything because it's pretty unambiguous that it's the Democrats. And if you go to any government website, a mutual friend of ours showed us the website for housing and urban development. I mean, it like there's like these big pop up looking things that said the Democrats shut down the government, and I obviously that's not going to convert anyone on the left, but I mean it's certainly not good PR for the Democrats.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And well, I honestly agree that this is a win-win for Republicans for a slightly different reason. Like, A, you're either going to win, like, let's say the Democrats blink first, right? Then it's exactly as you stated, where they look weak, you look strong, you have a nice win, you get to stick it to the Dems, right? That's the obvious scenario. The not so obvious scenario is what if Chuck Schumer actually waits a month or waits 20 days, right? And then this is like the even better part if you're like a Machiavellian Republican. So Russ Vought, right, the one of the core authors of Project 2025 is actually
Mm-hmm.
like masterminding like how to cut certain programs, certain agencies. He's already cut. This is just an example, right? So for the audience who's unaware, when you're in a government shutdown, it is completely constitutional for the president to decide unilaterally what is essential, what is not essential, where to cut funds, where to not cut funds, right? And there are some basic limitations to that, but for the most part, it's pretty much like unilateral. Russ Vought has already decided to start cutting things, and he hasn't laid off workers yet. But that is something that they are deeply threatening. So, like I saw Ted Cruz, he went ahead and he threatened to cut left wing bureaucrats, right?
Schumer and the Democrats force a shutdown, which they now have, that President Trump is going to use that as an opportunity not to tell people you're furloughed for a few days, but instead to send pink slips and to get rid of left-wing bureaucrats who are imposing left-wing priorities that are contrary to President Trump's priorities. I think that is fantastic, and what it's going to do is it's going to cause Democrats in Congress to scream and weep and gnash their teeth.
And that's the next step, right? That's their version of brinksmanship, is they're going to fire anyone for wrongthink in these bureaucracies. But the things that they're already doing, and I'm sure you're already aware of this, I'm just laying this out for the audience, is they cut, billions of dollars in infrastructure and energy projects for blue states, right? Basically, one or very little red state funding is getting cut. They're basically just cutting it from, anyone who voted for Kamala Harris, right? So it's very so like that includes up to $8 billion in the Green New Scam is what they called it, and it's
Yeah.
they overtly say it's because they're blue. They're not hiding it. So this is the part that I was getting at. Trump can use this as a way to maximize pain and punish the left. So if it's like if you cave, then he wins. If you don't cave, then he's going to make you pay for it, and he's still going to win. So because the pain is part of his victory. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree, disagree, or?
If they actually go through with it, I have my doubts that they will. But if they actually retire anyone coded left wing, hopefully they refill those positions with, even if it's sycophants, I mean, at least the government will retain its efficiency. But that would actually be pretty impressive. And I would actually applaud that from my point of view, because changing the bureaucracy will affect change much better than even like doing executive orders sometimes. So I mean,
Yeah,
uh,
I've always thought that this is the most obvious thing conservatives need to do, and I think it's there was too much libertarian in the Tea Party movement where they were like, let's dismantle these government agencies. I think the true like big C conservative thing to do is to just re-infiltrate them with conservatives. So that way, the people that are formulating all your EPA stuff, your agricultural stuff, your Department of Education stuff, they're all conservative. And not like firebrand either, just like basic conservatives, I don't know why they're like, yeah, let's tear it all down. It's like, no, no, no. How about we just fill it with your positions, right?
I mean, for every like liberal woman named Jessica or something from like New York or wherever, there's like a dude just as intelligent from Oklahoma, Texas, you know, that could totally fill her spot. He has a law degree. Just give him the opportunity. You can make him a bureaucrat. And after you get rid of the liberal, I mean, then you have a sycophant. I mean, that's a real tangible gain. If they actually go through with that, I would certainly applaud that as somebody who is more right leaning. Uh, I kind of don't think they will. I mean, with the Trump administration, it's usually a lot of bluffing, a lot of acting like they might do something, scaring people, but it's not really. There's little action behind it all, so if I were a Democrat, I don't think I'd be worrying too hard. I mean, the potential is certainly there, but I think I think honestly, what'll happen is like the Democrats will cave, and before they're punished too hard, and it probably won't run a month. But I mean, we'll see. But
Right. And my understanding was they're going to honor, as they do with all shutdowns, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all of that because they're mandated to. But is it not like is it after 2 weeks? So like on October, would that be 15th and 16th? Then that's whenever they stop Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid payments without another vote of Congress. I think I saw Mark Wayne Mullen explain that on Twitter. that they're basically holding like retirees hostage over the next 14 days. So, I don't know.
Ooh.
It's very interesting. We've never really had a shutdown go past a certain amount of time with no vote, right? So like even in the previous Trump shutdown, they voted to extend funding at least Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, right? So as well as a few other spots, but those are the big ones. So
Now, if that happens, that will be interesting because right now nobody is feeling the shutdown unless you're a federal employee. But right now, like no, I'm a state employee, and there's the potential that some things could get slowed down, like grant, disbursements and stuff. But right now, people like me, I would imagine you are not feeling it. But
no,
yeah, that
not really.
yeah, I mean that would be interesting though if at that 14-day mark, or however many you said, that maybe the social security checks stop coming in. That would be interesting. Then they would feel pain. But honestly, I think a lot of anger would get directed towards the Democrats because it's pretty unambiguously them this time. I mean, unless you're, I don't know, more partisan and you're just gonna choose your side, you know,
Yeah,
no matter what.
I sort of agree. Like I definitely do feel like this shutdown is more of the Democrats' fault than it is the Republicans. But I do gotta say, I don't think the Republicans are blameless here. Like Donald Trump is not even sitting down. I mean, Caroline Levitt is bragging to the press about how they're not even trying to negotiate. And I'm like, okay, if you're not even trying to negotiate, then like how are you going to complain that nothing's been getting done on your behalf? You know what I mean? So I don't understand it, but I say all that and still believe like yes, this is probably the Democrats' fault.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like it's not like the Republicans are blameless in it, but the whole thing is very Democrat coded. So I mean, they are really not in a good spot. Uh, but if they do win some concessions, I think that it'll totally have paid off because I mean, this is exactly what their base was wanting, and uh, honestly, in an ideal world, they would. I think they would make part of the fight about foreign affairs or something, like what was going on with Israel and Gaza.
Oh, see, I'm on team. You got to keep this domestic as possible because you're going to be affected. Here's why. So this shutdown, if shit hits the fan, you're going to be impacting domestic people more than anything, right? So it makes sense to me to make your messaging about this as domestic as possible. So just as an
Well, yeah,
example,
that's a
like
fair point.
healthcare is a huge win. Like if you're a Democrat, like you would much rather talk about healthcare than you would say immigration because immigration is your worst issue, right? So, or even like foreign affairs. I feel like Trump does appears better in foreign affairs because deals, I don't know, deals for the sake of deals looks better than what was previous, right? So,
Yeah. Oh, you know what though? You know what would be a good thing to make it about? Terrorists. If they could like get some concessions for him to like, you know, remove some of these totally stupid tariffs, like the coffee bean one, or just a lot of them where there's no point in us tariffing some of these nations.
right.
Uh, yeah, that would be a tangible that would be a huge win. And
I completely agree, and I don't know why they're not even a conversation like on MSNBC or CNN. Like, I don't know why these Democrats aren't parading that. It's probably because I mean, here's the thing. I don't know how you would hold them to that other than like, you'd have to like, so like legislation can be used to like stop or block tariffs, right? So like if the president
mhm.
issues a 5% tariff on China, The Congress can do that and override it with 66 votes, right? Because they override the veto. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know even know how that's going to be possible though without Trump's support because his whole plan is tariffs. So like I agree with you. It would be incredible if they won there. I just view that as way less unlikely than even the healthcare stuff. I think they did choose the right policy issue because it's the most possible. It's probably one of the more Democrat coded ones. And oddly enough, it helps red states more than anything. Like I don't know if you have looked at like what demographics use Obamacare more. It's almost all red states. So, and that's not a shot at them. They just happen to be less wealthy than most of the Democrat states. It's just the way it is. So,
Oh yeah, and I don't know. They might be more likely to be self-employed as well, so that's part of it. And
right.
uh,
That's where those subsidies are, right? Is if you're buying health insurance for yourself rather than through your work. So,
yeah, yeah.
yep. I completely agree. Do you have any timeline? Like, who do you think blinks first and wins? Like, we both seem to agree that the Democrats are going to blink, but how long do you think they make it out? You think they make it a week?
Um, a week. I feel like, ooh, yeah, maybe we can have a little game going, and by the next podcast or two, we can see who got closest. Honestly, I just don't see it going a month. Um, I I give it I give it 12 days. 12 days. I give it 12 days, and I think that's when the Democrats will cave
I'll do 11. And now, are you saying from today or from the start of the shutdown?
from the start.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take 11 days. Yeah, I like that. I like that deal. You're so gonna lose. Well, folks, be sure to tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, so I like that. Is there anything else you'd like to mention on this, or do you want to move on to
Oh, I think I've about uh covered my thoughts on the shutdown. Yeah, if you want to, I kind of just wanted to mention, you know, uh, it kind of got overshadowed in the news by Charlie Kirk's assassination, but Israel like launched a missile towards Qatar to try and kill a Hamas delegation over there, but they didn't kill any of the Hamas uh, diplomacy arm. I think they only killed like one Qatari citizen. So basically, that really made Trump mad. And basically, we've had this Gaza, Israel, Palestine, Israeli peace plan this past week that's been in the news, and it kind of uh, it kind of was rooted in that the attack on Qatar kind of spurred it. So one of the 21 points of it were that Netanyahu would have to apologize to the Qataris, and so he did. He came to the U.S. and Trump shared a photo of Netanyahu on the phone, apparently calling the Qataris and apologizing for it. And that was like point 21 out of like, I don't know if it was just 21 points in total, but it was like a 20 something point plan for the Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. And this 20 something point plan had been agreed upon by the U.S. and like all the Muslim nations across the world, basically. They thought it was a great plan because it would finally uh, it would finally end the war, and there would be a small, but albeit narrow path to a Palestinian state in it. But then Monday, I think it was, yeah, I think it was Monday. Like Netanyahu was in the U.S. and before they release the plan to the public and announce it, Netanyahu makes some revisions to it and basically makes the plan like worthless. And he did that by basically making it to where there's no guarantees that the Israelis will ever fully withdraw from Gaza. And and so they put this plan out Monday, and all the Arab leaders had agreed to an unrevised plan. So when they finally read it, they were just furious, and I don't know, it's causing such a shit storm. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up because I feel like it just kind of shows how Israel like runs our shit. Like I don't know. It's just embarrassing for us, and it can't be good for foreign relations. It's just bad all around. I probably
No,
did a terrible job explaining that. I should have organized my thoughts better, but
no, you're good. I got you off the cuff. That was not one of our things really on the docket, so you're all good. I did see, and this was probably close to a week ago now, but I did see Trump say something. A reporter asked him like flat out, will you let is no sorry is it true that you told Benjamin Netanyahu that he can't annex the West Bank? And Donald Trump said absolutely that's true. He's not going to do it. He said I've already made promises to Muslim nations. We're not going to let them do it. And Netanyahu's response to that was something along the lines of, we can do this with you or we can do this without you. So I think that that's like a nudge that like, hey, the tail wags the dog, right? So,
oh
um,
yeah, certainly.
I don't know if people agree with that, but basically my interpretation is that like, listen, Israel is such like a focal ally on the world stage of America in the Middle East that they have gotten the opinion that they can literally get away with murder, and they are gonna exercise that ability. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? So
Oh yeah.
it's rather unbelievable the lengths that they're able to go with this, because I mean I cannot think of a more uniform opposition globally to anything in my entire adult life. I mean, who besides the United States supports this? Besides like Argentina with like melee, right? Right. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they have
I
like,
can't think of many, right? They stormed out of the UN.
oh yeah, I mean it's very few. I mean the only people, there's Hungary. Viktor Orban is totally in the pocket, totally in the pocket.
Hell yeah, what a guy.
Uh,
What an ally to have.
oh yeah. Um, who else? Probably Garrett Wilders. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Yeah, he's he's very pro-Israel. But beyond them, I mean, yeah, they've really lost. They've really become quite the pariah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
the
and
entire world against them at this
right.
point.
And
The
more
American public.
countries are recognizing the existence of a Palestinian state. And I do wonder, and you just give me your basic thoughts on this. Do you think that it's possible that like a litmus test for the Democratic Party in 2028 could be the recognition of a Palestinian state? Like, or do you think that that's like that's way too soon of a horizon for American politics?
Um, well, see what I don't know because here's the problem. Uh, it should have been, or well, you know what? Maybe because I can't help but think that had Kamala came out more strongly in favor of a Palestinian state, or perhaps at least positioned herself as more anti Israel, more willing to restrain the Israelis. I almost feel like she would have won, but I feel like she lost out on a ton of like further left wing votes that just were not energized due to her inability to message on it. I don't know if she would have won had she come out more strongly in favor of Palestine, but it certainly did cost her votes. I do know that because I saw on Twitter, but before the election, people saying I'm not voting for her specifically because of this issue.
Well, and
So
if you need further evidence of this, Rashida Tlaib's district, right? She won her district like by a smooth margin, right? But also, and on the up the ticket, Trump won that same district. So you have a district of constituents that voted for both Rashida Tlaib and Donald Trump, and that is really only possible because of the position that the Biden-Harris administration had on Israel and Gaza. So I completely agree.
yeah, so in that sense, uh, I could see it being a litmus test. With that being said, it was a litmus test in 2024, and Kamala was still, their candidate of choice. Nobody else threw themselves into the fold, so nobody else emerged. Will it be an issue, a litmus test type issue in 2028? I don't know. I think honestly, it all depends if it's still in the news. There's a good possibility that by 2028, both, Gaza is annexed, maybe even the West Bank is annexed, and maybe Iran will have been, maybe the Ayatollah will have been dethroned or, killed or something. So, there's a good chance there's even a new regime in Iran by 2028. If I'm being, totally, optimistic in terms of like the Israeli